So in this video, I'm gonna take this and turn it into something that's not that. So a few weeks ago, my sister, she's moving and she came across this box full of stuff, and in this stuff was this old Fender Squier Bullet Telecaster that apparently I tried to redo when I was in high school and did quite the number on it. I'm gonna try to redeem myself a little bit. I'm gonna try to finish this body, turn it into something way cooler than what it is. Full disclosure, I am not an expert when it comes to paints or finishes or techniques on finishing guitars, but what I do have is the internet now, and what I'm gonna do is in my comment section, I'm gonna list the references that I used to help me do this, because it's a lot of fun, and I would recommend this to any guitar player, because finishing your own guitar I think is very, very rewarding. I'm gonna set everything up and go over what I used to build this guitar. Please like and subscribe and hit the bell and leave comments and let me know what you think about finishing guitars and techniques that you do differently. Because like I said, this is a learning process, and the more I can learn about this, the better chance I have of doing another one of these. So before I begin, just a few things that you're gonna need to do this finish. I have an orbital sander. You don't need one. I would actually recommend using a sanding block. I just made one. It's just a scrap piece of wood that I had lying around, and I just sanded the corners and just made it smooth. To start things off, I'm gonna be using sandpaper from 200 just to kind of sculpt it. I'm gonna work my way up to 600. I also have some 800 just to kind of get any blemishes in between coats if I need it. And then I have 1500 to 3000 just to kind of prep it for finish. I also picked up some microfiber cloths. Here's my paint and a pencil just so I can mark things up so I need it. So I'm gonna clear this up and start working. So last night I think I got most of the sanding done. There was a couple spots that were a little deep. I just marked those with a pencil, and today I'm gonna go over those spots with some wood filler, and I'm just gonna sand those out once it dries, and I think I'm ready for priming. Okay, so I'm just gonna use some wood filler here that I got from Home Depot, and I'm just gonna use a putty knife, and I'm just gonna put a little bit in and smooth it out, and then come back in maybe like half an hour or 40 minutes to see how it dries, and hopefully it dries pretty good. So yeah, here we go. Okay, so I did 2 coats of primer. I started last night, and then I came in this morning and did the second coat. I'm really happy how it turned out. Everything's pretty smooth. There's like no dust, which I'm really surprised because this is done in my basement. There are a couple spots that I noticed, but that's because I burned through the sealer. It might have been a good idea maybe to go over it with a sealer, because I was kind of hoping that this would be taken care of like when I did the primer and when I added the color coat. So I'm kind of still banking that a lot of this will smooth out. But if it doesn't, I'm not going to worry about it. So a couple of things before spray painting. You don't want to be too far back when you're painting. It'll mist and it'll dry up before it even hits your guitar. And if it's too close, you're probably going to get an uneven surface. So what I would recommend is roughly the distance from your guitar to the paint can. That seems to be working really well. I start from the top and I work my way down, just like this, and I'm overlapping each run. And the first coat, I'm not too worried about total coverage on this. I'm gonna try to keep it very light and then slowly build up my color. I don't have to have 6 layers of paint. I just need to have this colored over the next few coats. The color I went with is, it is a Ford color. It is the Dark Canyon Red. I'm kind of hoping it's gonna be like a candy apple red. I didn't want anything too metallic-y. I'm a fan of the classic colors, so I'm kind of hoping this will be very close to the candy apple red. So there's only one way to find out. So I'm about to apply my clear coat. I came in this morning and overall was pretty good. There was a couple dust spots, so I just took a 600 grit sandpaper, or 800, and I just kind of knocked it down. I did a light sand on the surface just to kind of get rid of any bumps, anything that might mess up the clear coat. Wiped it down and reapplied the color, and it turned out really well. So I'm ready to go. If you apply a color and you notice that there's a run, don't try to fix it on the spot. What I would recommend is let it dry overnight and then come at it with like a 400 or a 600, just something that can get rid of that run, sand it down gently, reapply your coat, and you should be good to go. If you try to fast track the stage, you'll probably regret it. So anyways, I'm gonna apply the clear coat, same method as I did before. I'm gonna do a light pass, then a thicker pass. I wanna make sure I build up a good thick clear coat because I'm gonna be sanding that and buffing that. So I wanna make sure I don't burn through. So yeah, here we go. And I'm loving the color, by the way. This has turned out way better than I expected. So anyways. Okay, so I'm gonna film the rest up here because I had to get out of the basement. But basically, this is how it turned out. After I sprayed the clear coat, I let it dry overnight. I gave it about 48 hours of drying time, so it cured nicely. I brought it upstairs to sand it and get it ready to go. Now, something weird happened, and because I'm not a paint expert, I can't really explain to you what it was. There's a couple theories that I have. When I sprayed it on, it created this like glittery effect, and when I looked at it, it was actually like a very severe orange peel. It's as if it like flash dried the moment it landed on my guitar. And from what I've read, it could be a couple of things. It could have been a contamination issue. Now, I did spend a lot of time cleaning it and making sure that there was no oil on my guitar. It could have been a temperature thing. I'm spray painting in my basement. Now, it says I should be doing this between 10 degrees and 30 degrees, and I think my basement's sitting around 20 degrees. So I don't know. There's a couple ways I could fix this. The first way is I can completely strip the clear coat and resand it and then reapply it. I'm not gonna do that. I decided to go with option B, which was just start sanding and hope for the best. I did have a very thick clear coat on there, so what I'm hoping is that as I sand, there'll be enough on there that'll be enough for me to use. Anyways, so the finishing process is probably the most time-consuming part of this finishing section. I'm using 3 types of sandpaper for the finishing product, and then I'm using a polish. I'm using like a cutting compound, and then I'm using a finishing polish at the very end to kind of smooth it. And basically what we're doing is we're creating, we're just kind of bringing it down very slowly to that like super small glassy finish. So for wet sanding, what you're gonna do is you're going to wanna take a bowl of water and add a little bit of detergent in there, just a little bit of dish soap, not much, just a drop, and cut your paper, put it in there, let it sit for like 20 minutes, get it nice and wet, and then as you start sanding the surface, do small sections, go slowly, and keep an eye on it, right? Don't go fast because you can burn through your clear coat pretty quick. I would do like, I don't know, like 4-inch sections, 4x4, work it and then wipe it off and see where it is, and then re-soak, keep going, and eventually you'll get through the whole guitar. I was very hesitant to go towards the edges because paint doesn't stick well to the edges. You can cut through that so easy. So what I would recommend is give yourself as much distance from there as possible and only go as close as you need to. Once I've applied that to all of my guitar, and once I've sanded down with 1500, I move to 2000, same process. You don't have to spend as much time with 2000 as you do with 1500 because most of the sanding's already done. Now you're just kind of buffing out the scratches that the 1500 created. You just kind of keep going through, same thing, small section at a time, watch the edges, don't go fast, blah, 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 blah. And then once that's done, dry it, apply with your 3000. So basically then we're ready for our polishing stage. You could use an orbital buffer. Again, I would just be super careful. Yeah, because you can burn through the paint really quick, and before you know it, you're gonna be cursing. So basically I used a few microfiber cloths that I bought. You can get them at Canadian Tire if you're Canadian, or you can probably get them at Walmart. I used the Chemical Guys, not sponsored. I just picked them up on Amazon. It worked really well. This is the first one that I applied. The cutting polish. Basically, I just put drops on there and on my cloth, and slowly worked my way around the guitar, nice and slowly. And the friction from the compound is going to basically smooth out the rest of your clear coat. And you'll notice that when you're sanding, it still has kind of a foggy look to it. This kind of really brings out that glimmer, that glassy feel, which is really cool. So I did that through the whole guitar. I was very liberal around the sides and the corners. Again, it's just an experience thing. It's just not worth it for me to blow through. So I kept my distance. So once I applied all there and wiped everything off and cleaned the guitar again, I used another microfiber cloth, and I used now their final polish, which is again the Chemical Guys off of Amazon. It just came in a set. I don't even know if this is the right stuff to be using. Same thing, I added a little bit to my microfiber cloth on the surface, worked it in, and then wiped it off, covered the entire guitar this way. So all in all, I think this turned out amazing compared to what it was. When my sister gave this to me, I was very like, do I do something with it, or do I just buy a new body because it looks like it's gonna be a ton of work. There was a lot of dings and dents, which there still is a lot of dings and dents, but it turned out amazing. And I love all these little things because this guitar now has a really great story that I've shared with you. I'm really excited to get this thing put together. A couple things I would have done differently. In hindsight, I think the best thing I should have done if I wanted to have like a really good finish would have been to sand the clear coat right off, make sure everything's smooth, and then reapply the clear coat properly. Like I said, I don't know what happened, so if you know what happened, leave it in the comments. Let me know what would be the best thing. Should I have kept the cans warmer? Did I do something with the distance? Was it a contamination thing? I don't know. But sanding it down, it's still very smooth. It's just more of a visual thing now. Like, it's like my Reptile Telecaster. Yeah, it's cool. It's like gator boots, I guess. Anyways, sanding the clear coat when I was wet sanding, using a sanding block, I think I would recommend as well. The way I did it, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but if you're new to it, I would totally recommend keeping using the sanding block. Okay. So anyways, let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I have part 2 coming out now where we're gonna put this bad boy together and actually see if it works. Thank you very much. Take care.